Alright, I've got my Z84 wing out here again this morning. I got it all trimmed out. I think it's tuned pretty well. I like the roll rate and the elevator authority. So let's get it in the air and see what we have. Roll left. It's pretty good authority. Roll right, good authority. Let's see, elevator authority. Pretty good. With a little to spare. Not bad at all. Holds its line very well. Very maneuverable. But as I was stating in my last video, certainly not a first plane. I would look at a wing as a second or a third plane, and with this one, I would probably say a third plane, because it is fast and maneuverable. Pretty axial rolls too. Pretty fast. I'm liking it a lot. Okay, so let's bring it in for a landing. One of my previous landings, it caught a divot or a rut or something, and the nose bounced up and it just cartwheeled. And I try to, slow it down as much as I can on these landings. That was better. Boy, I tell you. I gotta try and make sure I touch down back over here where the smoothest part of this road is. But man, it's a tough little wing. I've already cartwheeled it once this morning, so yeah, it's pretty well locked in, and I think tuned pretty well. I like the roll rate. I like the elevator authority on it that I have now. So we'll get back to the HQ. I will go over my linkages, my CG, my flying weight, the lipos that I use in it, my control surface deflection, and my expo. And there'll be links to this wing and the components that I use, as well as the prop that I selected for it that I like, in the show notes. So I'll see you back at the HQ.
Alright, so this wing is pretty locked in. It's trimmed really well, and I like the control surface deflections I have on it. Plenty of elevator authority, good roll rate to the left and to the right. So I'll provide you guys with a setup file in the show. There'll be a link to it in the show notes, as well as to the wing. I checked the price on it this morning. It was $74.99 for the plug-and-fly version. So it's a pretty good price for what you get, I think. Plenty of power, plenty of speed, extremely maneuverable, very aerobatic, and very durable. Like I said, I cartwheeled it coming in for a landing on one of the flights this morning, and it carries an FPV system just fine. So my all-up weight with the lipo that I like to fly with this wing is 410 grams all-up weight. The prop that I use is a 6x3 high efficiency composite prop. 6x4 works really well with it too, but I think the 6x3 produces just as much thrust as the 6x4, and it's a little more efficient. Now, I checked the voltage on the battery. I had it in the air for 4 minutes and 4 seconds, and the pack still had 11.4 volts in it, 3.8 volts per cell. So the way that I was flying out there, and I wasn't flying it slowly, and I was in the throttle a lot, it's using 0.1 volts per cell per minute, so 0.3 volts for the pack per minute. So the way that I was flying out there, you should be able to get 6 to 7 minutes of flight time. The way I was flying, leaving 3.5 volts in the cells. So the battery weight that I like, and I like it to have fairly light wing loading. I mean, it can carry a lot of weight. But I like a lipo of between 110 to 130 grams of weight. That makes the wing handle the way I like it to handle, the way I like it to feel, and it makes it pretty locked in. Let's see, control surface, my control linkage setup. My control linkage setup on the elevons is the outermost hole on the servo and on the control horn. The servo arms have 3 holes. The elevon control horns have 4 holes. Outermost hole on both of those. The dual rate that I have on the aileron is 70% with 30% expo, and that gives me a deflection of 13 millimeters up, 13 millimeters down for 26 millimeters total travel for the ailerons. On the elevator, my dual rate is 45%, expo is 25%, and the deflection that I have on the elevator is 9 millimeters up, 9 millimeters down, 18 millimeter total travel. And that works out really well. The CG that I use is the specified CG. There is a couple of little nubs right in front of where the wing spar is, and that's where I balance it, right where the specified CG is located, and that's about 160 millimeters back from the nose. And when I balance it, I get a neutral balance right there on those nubs, so that the wing is setting completely level. Now, one of the things, if I remember correctly, in the instructions, they tell you to have a slight amount of positive elevator. Well, I set it up that way right off the bat, and what I found was that it makes it easier to launch with the little positive elevator in it, but then the wing wants to climb. Every time that you throttle up, it wants to climb. So the best thing to do is to put those control surfaces level with the wing. That's the way I have mine set up. It makes it a little more difficult on launch. I throttle it up at 60% throttle. I give it a pretty good chuck with a slight upward angle when I release it. And I do not launch this from the bottom of the fuselage, even though it's designed to do that. I ended up getting some stitches in my finger from launching this wing that way. So I always hold it by the tip of the wing and I launch it that way. It's a lot safer way of doing it. So I don't launch any of these pusher props from the bottom of the fuselage anymore unless the motor is up on top of a pylon above the bottom of the fuselage, or or a tractor plane. Okay, so the lipos that I have flown in this is a Zippy 3S 1300 milliamp hour 40C lipo. This one weighs 113.6 grams. I have flown it with the Zeta Power 1500 milliamp 3S lipo. It's also a 40C. The size of these, the size and the weight of those two batteries are almost identical. And these are the two batteries that I like to fly with that weight. This one is 111 grams, like I said, 113.6. So something between 110 to 130 grams, but I like a lighter weight battery in it. I have flown it with a Turnigy 3S 1600 milliamp lipo. This is a 30C, and a Turnigy 3S 2200 milliamp hour battery. That's 25C. The heaviest lipo that I've used is this 3S 2200. It weighs 172.1 grams. It flies with it just fine, but I think it feels a little heavy. It increases the wing loading. And the 1600 milliamp is 129.5, 130 grams, and it flies fine with this one too. But this is about the heaviest one that I like to fly with. On the dimensions of the battery, the thickness and the height of the Zippy and the Zeta Power are about as wide and about as high a battery as I think you're going to be able to put in it and get the canopy closed on it. And that is 35 millimeters by 30 millimeters. And the longest battery you want to put in is probably going to be about like one of these, which is going to be about 110 millimeters in length. So 35 by 30 by 110 is the size of the lipo, maximum size of the lipo I think you're going to be able to get in it. I did put a little tape tab back here on the back because it really grips that wing spar, and I'll show you the kind of weight that I have in it. Now, in order to get this balanced neutrally on the CG with one of these 1300 milliamp lipos, or a lipo weighing between 110 to 115 grams, you've got to have the battery fairly far forward. I've got my receiver located underneath the wing spar, and I have the ESC right up here beside the battery. And getting the components distributed like that gives me a neutral balance on the CG, right where the specified CG is. So that works out really well. I have flown it with an FPV system. Like I said, it carries it just fine. So the setup file, links to all the components, will be in the show notes. There'll be a downloadable PDF file that I created that has all this information on it. So thanks for watching. If you're looking for a really good wing, like I said, I would recommend this as a second or a third plane, not as a first plane. I was pretty foolish when I purchased this as my first fixed wing. I still can't believe that it's still flying after being the first fixed wing I put in the air. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the air.